Good morning and half a day. The Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor Procurement, and Statistics Research and Planning is calling this virtual public hearing to order. It is now 8:05 a.m. on Thursday, February 11th, 2021. Notice of this morning's virtual hearing was provided via email to senators, stakeholders, and local media on February 4th for the 5-day notice and February 9th, 2021 for the 48-hour notice, thus meeting the requirements of open government law. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues who have joined me here today, Senator Ada and Senator Talo-Taitigui. Thank you so much. And I think that's all. Okay. So the purpose of this virtual hearing is to receive testimony on executive appointment of Mr. Juan Carlo S. Pangolin to serve as a member of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. The second item is to receive testimony on the executive appointment of Ms. Michelle B. Santos to serve as the Banking and Insurance Commissioner of the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and then to hear testimony on Bill number 52-36 COR, sponsored by myself, Senator Sabina Flores Perez, as an act to amend Section 5233 of Sub-Article D, Article 3, Chapter 5, Title 5, Guam Code annotated relative to disclosure of ownership, financial, and conflict of interest. So the rules of conduct are as follows. The host of this hearing will mute all participants until called upon by the chair. A virtual background should not be utilized during the hearing, and participants' face must be visible at all times. When called upon to speak, please ensure that you are unmuted and that you're speaking into your microphone. Members of the committee wishing to speak may indicate their desire in the in-app chat feature. Order of questioning will begin with myself, followed by senators. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and shall state their name for record-keeping purposes. And questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to character or motive of any senator or individual testifying is not permitted. And any violations of this general rule of conduct will result in removal. So now to begin the agenda, the first item is the executive appointment of Mr. Juan Carlo S. Pangolin to serve as a member of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. The Alcoholic Beverage Control Board consists of 5 members who are appointed by the governor with the advice and consent of the Guam legislature. The ABC board has the power to license the importation, manufacture, sale of alcoholic beverages, and to suspend, revoke, or reinstate such licenses. Every member of the ABC board and every compliance inspector has the power to enforce the laws of on alcoholic beverages. So we have several of those that have come to testify on behalf of the nominee. So we'd like to start with that. And we have first signed up is Mr. Roland Gutierrez, if he's here today. Okay, we don't have him here. Let me check. Do we have a Pam Kinata? Okay.
Mr. Richard Savlon is here on my behalf, and also Frank Areola.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Okay, so we have, next is Frank Areola on the list to testify. So you have the floor, you're recognized, Mr. Areola. Is he there? Hi, Frank, can you hear me? Looks like you froze a little bit. Oh, there you go. Okay, so yeah, you're recognized if you can unmute yourself and identify yourself too. You're still muted. You're still muted. There you go.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair. Apologize, I had some technical difficulties this morning. Good morning, distinguished senators, Chairman Savlon, Richard Savlon of Guam Community College, and Juan Carlo. I don't have a prepared statement, but I wanted to come on this morning to endorse the board position for Juan Carlo Pangolin. I have known Juan Carlo all of his life. On a personal level, I was actually involved in his mom and dad's wedding. I have been in close contact with him as he grew up, and I just want to let you know that he's a good person. He's a good family man, good father, and I've had the pleasure of also conducting some business on the club car side, which he runs small engine service and repair to include sales. And so I'm going to make this short, and I will be submitting written testimony in favor of his nomination. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Areola, for your testimony. So next on the list, we have Mr. Richard Sablan. You're recognized.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, Senator Taitagui, Senator Ada, all others in attendance, and my colleague on the Guam Community College Board, Chairman Frank Areola. Good morning, and hope everybody's having a nice day so far. My name is Richard Sablan. I am a local businessman, and as Frank Areola shared earlier, he and I both serve in the capacity of board members for the Guam Community College. I have known Juan Carlo Pangolin for over 10 years. He's been heading our company's sales team since he joined our company in 2011. In addition, Carlo, as I know him, and I are also partners in a company called Guam Ventures, which is involved in golf cart sales, power sports, vehicle distribution business, which we established in 2016. For as long as I've known Carlo, I've known him to be a very hardworking, dedicated, and serious-minded individual. Carlo's biggest asset is his technical expertise and capability. Whether it's an automobile, a golf cart, jet ski, or recreational vehicle engine, Carlo has the talent and capacity to understand, analyze, and decipher the technical aspects of any piece of mechanical equipment he comes into contact with. He has the talent and ability to apply this not just to automotive engines, but also to day-to-day situation involving his business, his employees, and his customers. Carlo is the type of individual that wants to know how things work. He has the patience and discipline to study a problem and come to a practical conclusion on how to solve it. In Carlo's mind, if you study a problem long enough, there's always a way to find a practical solution to make it work. Carlo is no stranger to hard work. He's always willing to roll up his sleeves and do what it takes to get the job done. Carlo has always been an entrepreneur at heart. He has a vision for starting businesses and has the determination to see his vision through to fruition. Additionally, Carlo is a person of integrity and knows that there is a right and a wrong way to accomplish a goal, and there is no such thing as gray area. Carlo will always follow the right and proper way, and I believe that these traits collectively make Carlo an ideal selection for a board position with the Alcohol Beverage Control Board as a board member. I have no doubt Carlo will use his business expertise, talents, and integrity to help the board conduct its business and fulfill its mission of ensuring that all individuals and entities holding liquor and tobacco licenses with the Department of Revenue and Taxation will follow all rules and regulations pertaining to these licenses. I personally endorse his appointment, and I wholeheartedly encourage the legislature to confirm his appointment. Thank you very much. That's all.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sablan, for your testimony and for being here today.
You're very welcome.
So
My pleasure.
You're very welcome. So now we have on our list, I believe, is the nominee himself, Juan Carlo Pangolin. So thank you for being here to provide your testimony.
Hi, good morning, senators and Hafa. My name is Juan Carlo Pangolin. I'm proud to have been nominated by the governor, and I hope to have the opportunity to serve as a member of the ABC board. Although I would be a new member, as everyone is aware, I look forward to learning how to properly apply the rules and regulations, and I promise to learn swiftly. I will be sure to uphold the law and remain impartial and fair in any decisions that may be brought before us, and to work alongside my fellow board members and colleagues to ensure that the integrity of the ABC board is kept to its high standard.
And all right, so Does that conclude your testimony so far?
That concludes my testimony. Short and brief. I'd like to, refer to your expertise.
Okay, thank you so much. So first of all, thank you for accepting the nomination to this board, and just have a couple questions before I allow my colleagues to also ask their questions. So what do you hope to achieve should you be confirmed in this position?
Well, Guam is struggling right now, and alcohol service businesses are really in need of help, and I'm hoping that we can assist them, in moving forward, finding other avenues that would help them to succeed and to become prosperous. As we move through the COVID-19 pandemic and we move out of it back to normalcy, I hope that we can assist them somehow. And I'm green, so as I learn more about how the board operates, I hope to be able to apply my knowledge to help businesses.
Okay. So, you probably know that there's a bill pending. It's regards to allowing on-sale, off-sale licenses for on-sale licensees. Yeah. I know the board is supposed to ensure compliance. So part of the law is, part of the bill is to allow, something like a grab and go kind of venture to supply alcohol. What do you see as some of the compliance challenges or requirements to overcome something like that, or to?
Well, anytime alcohol leaves an establishment, I mean, it would be, to me, it would be similar to any other retail store that can sell alcohol. The fact that we have no control after it leaves the establishment is something that we'd have to look into, but I don't see that it's any different than you being able to walk into a local market and walk out with a 6-pack of alcohol or, beer or liquor. So to allow an establishment that, to do that might be something we should look into so that they can be able to, survive.
As far as compliance, though, I mean, what do you think are some of the steps that are needed to ensure that underage drinking is not taking place?
Well, of course, the normal avenues as far as checking IDs and such, but after they leave the establishment, if this is grab and go, you meaning they're not consuming on site, inside or outside, correct? This is.
Yeah, we're talking about the end user. So
yeah, so as far as the end user, I mean, as much as we can control it, I see it's the same thing as any retail store. So as far as enforcement goes, we just have to use the normal avenues as far as checking identification, making sure they're of age, at the time of purchase. Of course, I would also limit the purchase to the people. So whoever's purchasing, each person would have to have their ID so that, we can try to ensure that it's not just disseminating to the youth or underage drinkers.
Okay. So thank you for that. So the next question is, do you have any potential conflicts of interest serving as an ABC board member?
Fortunately, I do not. I don't have any. I don't have any relations with any current alcohol service establishments or wholesale or retail businesses. So I'm pretty clear.
Okay. And so, some of the things that was mentioned in a previous hearing was that perhaps you might know other owners that own restaurants or, places that sell alcohol. How would you, that could, certain potential favors may be asked of you because, you're friends with them. I mean, how would you respond to something like that?
Okay, so anyone who would take advantage of my position, they're not a true friend, and I won't take that lightly. If someone was to ask me a favor, I mean, it might come to their detriment. I might have to spank that business for even attempting to do that. I would definitely bring it up to the board. I don't take kindly to things like that.
Okay.
Any kind of nepotism or illegal activity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that response. So the next question is the ABC board.
Sorry, Senator, you cut off for a second.
I think the chairwoman is frozen. So
Board meets
if we
twice.
can just- there she is. Okay, Madam Chair, you were frozen. So if you could repeat your question, you were frozen. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So yeah, the question was, do you foresee any issues in making the meetings that occur twice a month?
No, I do not. In getting into this, I already knew that the board meets twice a month. I know it's going to take commitment on my end, and I'm prepared to take the challenge. I do travel for business, and I will be sure to schedule any travel with the board, and I will try to attend virtually. I will attend virtually if I'm not on Guam.
Do you see any issues in serving as a member during this pandemic? The board makes site visit inspections as one of their duties.
Not at all. As long as we all follow protocol, we can stay safe.
Okay. So that's all my questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Pangolin. And I would like to open the floor to my colleagues. Senator Tony Atta, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, do we have any members of the ABC board currently on the Zoom link with us? No.
No, we do not.
The chairman of the ABC board? No one?
No. We don't have. Brent.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Pangolin, and how are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Senator. I'm good. Thank you.
That's great. It's nice to see upcoming youths leading our island, and thank you for answering the call to the governor to step up and serve as a board member of the ABC board. My question is, what do you hope to achieve in the time that you're on the board? Changes to regulations, or where do you see the ABC board being in, let's say, a year from now or 2 years from now?
Well, as mentioned earlier, as I grow and learn more about the rules and regulations, I hope to be able to apply them better and, as mentioned, help businesses grow. But me personally, I feel like, alcohol is a big issue on island. And I think that we may be able to do a better job at enforcing underage drinking. That's always been a big problem on Guam. And I know the ABC board doesn't have the enforcement capability to tackle those kind of issues, but I feel that we may be able to help. So that's what I hope to do. In a year's time, maybe we can have better laws, better rules to enforce underage drinking.
Do you think it's just underage drinking that's an issue, or drinking overall?
Drinking overall is an issue. Alcohol abuse is an issue, but if the way I see it, if we tackle the issue while people are young, we might be able to curb the alcohol abuse as they grow older. So,
So is there any current laws or regulations that are in place that you perhaps would like to see changed?
Currently, the drinking age has already been changed. That was a big step. I know BJ's on here. That was great. As far as the closing times of establishments, that's already been tackled. I can't think of anything particular that I would like to bring up, but I'm sure the more I learn, I will find these issues and try to address them with the board.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about the establishments or closing earlier, right? Do you oppose moving closures of the bars back to 4 a.m.?
I would oppose that. As the population of our island gets bigger, and also our military presence grows, I do see it as a potential problem. Our police are already taxed. We don't have enough police on the streets, and by having the bars open 2 more hours, it's going to exacerbate the issue.
So how about if you say we keep the bars open till 4, but the last drink is served at 2 or 3 o'clock, and they're just there to, unwind before they leave and things like that, because they usually have bands playing, right? And usually a band starts at 10 at night or whatever it may be. So what are your thoughts on that?
Actually, that's a great idea, because a wind down period at the end of a bar, at the end of a night, instead of throwing the people out onto the street, is a great idea. To give them time to consume water, give them time to, lose their buzz, and that might be the safest avenue. And you keep the businesses open, they can still sell drinks, non-alcoholic, right? Like you said, the band keeps going, they're getting paid. I would totally support that idea.
Oh, that's great to hear, because that's something, right, that was an issue for several years where, they closed the establishment at 2:00. The bands were, by the time they got started, they're already ending, and they didn't have a wind down period, and people were just, drinking up all they can before the 2:00 hour hit, and then they left, drunk. So, and that's why this unwind period, right, or this cool down period from 2 to 4, where there's no alcoholic beverages whatsoever, just sodas and water, and then they can dance until they, sweat out all the alcohol and then go home.
I think it's a great idea, and I'd fully support that if given the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Well, I look forward to your confirmation moving forward, and I'm looking forward to voting for you on the floor. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for taking the governor's call to serve on the board. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Guzmasi, Senator Toniata. Thank you for the line of questioning. Senator Tello-Taitigui, you're recognized.
Sujus Masi, Madam Chair, and thank you, gentlemen, Frank Areola and of course Rich Sablon, for being here to testify. Juan Carlos, thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. I don't know you very well, but I definitely know Rich Sablon very well. And I know that having him today to testify on your behalf says a wealth of that anything I need to know, because he doesn't give out accolades or these type of endorsements very lightly, and I trust him when he does do that. So it says a lot about your character, and Senator Ada had that question. I had the same one. I owned a bar back in the day, and I know he was talking about the increasing it to 4:00. It was a great idea to, maybe stop selling at 2 and the wind down. It's just an excellent idea, I think, as a former bar owner, but I noticed that you mentioned the military coming in, and that just popped, in my head. Good. He knows that it's coming. We're going to have this influx. A lot of them, these are Marines, a lot of them are still under the age of 21. So we need to keep that in check. And I'm so glad, Juan Carlo, that you mentioned that, because that's very important. The other one is, have you have any contact at all with MADD, M-A-D-D? Do you know how to get a hold of them? Have you read any of their stuff?
Hi, good morning, Senator. Yes, I'm very aware of that. I have had no contact with them on Guam so far, but if I am confirmed as a board member, I'm sure I will.
Good.
There's no reason not to. It's a great organization.
Yeah. Good, Juan Carlos, because you want different perspectives coming both sides, the bar side as well as those who are concerned in the public. So I highly recommend to get a hold of them, and listen to what they have to say, and get that balance. That's very important. And I see you already have that. So I'm glad, as well as Guam Behavioral Wellness. They have a wealth of knowledge and data and information when it comes to alcohol and alcohol abuse. So that might be a good place to look. But I also noticed that you have a degree in political science. And this is going to be very helpful, moving forward on just working in the government or working for the government in your capacity. So you're going to use that degree now.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, the other one I had is Bill 16 that the good chairwoman brought up earlier. You know, it has a lot of issues. You know, there are people from the bar area as well as some ABC stores as well that are against this bill. You know, could be rightfully so. But one of the things that when you're talking about this and you're aware of the bill is actually the delivery perspective. And that is when these like Pizza Hut deliveries and stuff. So you get a bar that orders these drinks, closed container, you take it to the house or the hotel room, and the person that comes in has the ID of 21. But back in the room, there's a room full of 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds that the delivery men can't see. I mean, so this is a gap, you know, in enforcement that really needs to be thought out before even moving forward. So I hope you can look into that, because I know we're about helping the businesses move forward. I know you're a businessman, you know, and you understand the concept of, you know, jobs, you know, growing the economy, but also the most important thing in your position is the safety of our community and the welfare of our community. And as a political science degree, you're going to put those two in perspective. I'm sure you will. So enough said on my end. I thank you again, Juan Carlos, for stepping up, the next generation doing their part. I was telling Rich Sablon that, hey, dude, I think we're the Manumcus now. So we're going to ask you now to take over and take care of us. Okay, Juan Carlos, I wish you this, and to your mom, you know, Pam, give her my best too as well. Okay, and
thank
the
you
family.
very much, Senator.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Senator Taitagui. So thank you so much, Mr. Carlo Pangolin, for stepping up to the plate as well. And you know, we definitely will move this nomination forward. So yeah, we hope to see some good work that comes out of you, and thank you for your commitment to serving our community. So thank you so much.
Hey, thank you very much, Senator Perez. Thank you very much, Senators. Have a good day. I look forward to serving.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, so the next
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for participating.
Well, and Mickey, good luck.
Thank you, Rich.
Hey, Mickey, good luck.
Thank you, Frank.
All right.
So I can assume that is your support for Mickey on her confirmation, gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
This is Frank Areola. Before you start,
No
I
doubt.
actually serve as vice president on the Bishop Gardner board under Mickey, who is our president. And I got to tell you, she just before you start there, and she's all heart. She really cares for the kids, and you know, does everything she can to support the school. So yes, and I've asked her for the information so I can submit written testimony in her favor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Frank.
And as far as I'm concerned, I've known Mickey for a long, long time. I know that she and her family have dedicated themselves to the youth of the island with their commitment to the soccer program. So whatever she is going to be doing for the government as far as public service is concerned is going to be a good thing for the government. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. Have a nice day, all.
Thank you, you too.
So that says a lot, because I didn't think you had any time out of working for Department of Revenue and Taxation. So that's you're definitely dedicated. Okay. So yes, next item on the agenda is to hear testimony. I've already received testimony on the executive appointment of Ms. Michelle B. Santos to serve as a Banking and Insurance Commissioner of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. The Commissioner shall be the primary regulator of Guam banking and insurance institutions and shall have the authority expressly conferred by or reasonably implied from the provisions of Chapter 103 of Title 11 of Guam Code Annotated. Any and all banks that engage in activities permissible to banks pursuant to Section 106191 of Title 11 Guam Code Annotated are subject to the powers of the Commissioner. The Commissioner's powers extend to any and all insurance entities, and she may examine or cause to be examined the books, papers, and property and into the affairs of any insurer, broker, agent, solicitor, or rating bureau, or any person engaged in organizing, promoting, or forming any insurer as the Banking and Insurance Commissioner, as a board, considers proper to determine whether any person has violated any provision of this Title 11 and other laws relating to the business of insurance. And generally, she may make such examinations, conduct such inquiries, and hold such hearings as are specifically provided for in this title or are as reasonably necessary for the proper discharge of her duties. So that's a little bit of an introduction for the responsibilities of the commissioner. Previously, the commissioner was Director Shimizu, and so now there is a separate appointed person as Michelle, under Michelle. So I would like to call upon those that have come to testify on behalf of Ms. Santos, and let me just double check who's on the list right now. So currently we have Francis Santos, who's a vice chair of the CCU, if he's here today. Do we have Francis Santos? Okay, the next person on the list is Arda Logan. So Arda Logan, you are recognized. Sorry. Can you unmute yourself, please? Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Senator Tony and Senator Tello. My name is Artie Logan. I am testifying in favor of the governor's nomination of Michelle B. Santos to fill the position of Banking and Insurance Commissioner. I am a retired Department of Revenue and Taxation employee. I have worked for the department for over 38 actual years. In my initial years, I started as a tax auditor. Also starting with me is the nominee herself, Michelle Santos. We attended IRS training where we journeyed through our careers. We were brought up by Mercy nuns and graduated from Catholic high schools and universities. After revenue agent training, Michelle was appointed special assistant to the director under Joe Rivera, and then was appointed to the position of deputy director for the Department of Revenue and Taxation under the Bordallo administration. Her employment with the department was over 7 years. She is no stranger to the operations of the department. Michelle has extensive administrative experience. She was also the director of the Government of Guam Retirement Fund and the assistant administrator for the Certified Public Accountancy Board. She also had several years as an insurance agent. And I know her as my grandkids and kids were students of Bishop and Gardner. She was a board member. She is a board member there, and she served to help the students and the school succeed. I have known Michelle for several years and decades, and I can testify that she is well qualified to fill the positions. Thank you. That's it, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Logan, and good morning. Thank you for being here. So we also have Michael Sablon. He's here for moral support. I'm not sure if he's here to provide any oral testimony as well. You're recognized, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, Senators. Yes, I'm just here to provide moral support and in favor of the confirmation of Michelle Santos to the Insurance Commissioner. I've known her professionally for many years, coming up in public accounting, as she was with the Guam Board of Accountancy. I'm sorry, my name is Michael Savlon. I'm the Vice President of Finance for Pacific Indemnity Insurance Company. And I've also known her socially for several years. So we've always known her to be upstanding and committed to detail and to completing the task at hand. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Sablan, for your testimony. And now I'd like to invite the nominee herself, Michelle, to provide her testimony.
Thank you. Off-a-day Senator Perez and Senator Tony and Senator Tello. Thank you for allowing me to testify on my behalf as appointee for the position of Banking and Insurance Commissioner. As you know, the position was established in May of 2004 and was meant to relieve the Director of Revenue and Taxation of some of his or her duties. As Banking and Insurance Commissioner, we are tasked with the responsibility of overseeing and regulating the banking and insurance industries. As Banking Commissioner, we are tasked with administering and enforcing the banking and financial policies and regulations of the territory, to include assisting in liquidation of failed banks, issuing charters to new banks, and establishing licensing criteria for the private sector. As Insurance Commissioner, responsibilities include maintaining fair pricing for insurance products, protecting the solvency of insurance companies, preventing unfair practices by insurance companies, and ensuring availability of insurance coverage. These duties and responsibilities, as plainly as put, does not describe the multiple work and monitoring this office is tasked with. I don't have decades of work in insurance or banking, but I do have decades of work in managing and administration. As Commissioner, I will work hard with the resources at hand, and although limited, will try to improve the mandates of this office. The insurance branch services 4 areas: insurance, securities, banking, and real estate, and more. We have a staff of less than 10 that is inundated with filings and applications, complaints, investigations, inquiries, and other administrative and enforcement duties. We see our limited resources as a problem. On a local level, we have important issues to tackle. I have singled out a couple. Number one, in the banking industry, there is the issue of cannabis. In the United States, states are being creative in handling of cash, since most banks are federally regulated and are not allowed to handle cash from cannabis businesses. The insurance industry is fast and evolving in areas, especially in technology. With our limited resources, we cannot keep up. The industry laughs at us and says we are inept to regulate. We are members of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners that provides much information and assistance to our office. Conferences and training are always available. We would like to look to a regulating jurisdiction to assist on a more local government level. This is the way to assist our examiners. Right now, we don't have a relationship with any of the states to share or exchange similar situations or problems. We would like to establish this relationship. We hope our office can count on the Guam legislature to assist us with future funding to carry out our programs. We know our island will be facing tougher times with the pandemic still upon us. We look forward to better times and our island rebuilding from the effects of this pandemic. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you and for letting me express my few thoughts on this new endeavor. Tzezus Maasi, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your testimony. And we do have the Director of Department of Revenue and Taxation, who's just joined us, and she would like to provide some support as well. So Daphne, welcome, and you're recognized.
Sitos Masi. And, although I am the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation, I actually, on a personal level, I wanted to provide my support and testimony to support Ms. Michelle Santos. I've known Michelle since 2003. Like the other members of the the previous panel had mentioned, she, was very active with both the Sidekick Soccer Club and Bishop Gardner Memorial School, where my son was participating both the Sidekick Soccer Club and he attended Bishop. And I can attest to the fact that Michelle is going to be a great asset in terms of insurance, securities, banking, and real estate. I definitely look forward to, having her there so that way we can truly have someone to focus wholeheartedly on that area. As she mentioned, the department does have, it faces a lot of new issues with regards to the issue of insurance because of the issue of COVID that we're now seeing, but also in the area of banking, like she mentioned, with regards to cannabis, and that's something that's new that's coming aboard. So, both on a personal level and a professional level, I have worked with Michelle, and I've known her for many years. And again, I just wanted to come to make sure that I testified in her support, and I urge and I recommend for our legislative body to definitely move forward with confirming her as the Insurance Securities Banking Commissioner for the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Sidus Masi, Chairwoman Perez, for allowing me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Daphne. It's nice to see you this morning and taking the time. Whoa, we just got knocked out. Okay. All right, thank you so much. And I would like to recognize Senator Joanne Brown, who has joined us here today. Welcome, Senator. Okay, so now for the questions. I think you covered quite a bit, but maybe if you can reiterate some of the responses, maybe go into more detail. Let me just pull that up really quick. Okay, so first of all, yeah, thank you for accepting the nomination to fill this position. It looks like there is a need for a dedicated a person to oversee this very important branch. So, you've mentioned you've served as an acting banking and insurance commissioner for just a few months. And so if you can go into details, like what are some of the issues you see in banking and insurance industry here in Guam?
Well, the first problem I see is, our inability to regulate as we should for the lack of resources, Senator. I see that as a problem. I only have a staff of less than 10. We don't have access to legal services, to a lawyer. That is a big problem as I see it. It's not like we've not been trying as a department to try to get legal services. We do have the use of the AG, but the AG is really, really busy, and they prioritize their cases, what they want to handle. But in the in the area of insurance, securities, banking, and real estate, there are a lot of issues and a lot of law changes. I mean, a lot of the law changes that need to be made is because the law is outdated. Even a changing of fees, that requires some legal advice and comparing to the states, what the other states are doing. So I see those as issues right now with respect to, our branch operating.
Yes, yeah, we're aware of some of those. Some laws have not been updated for many decades now.
Yeah.
So that is something that we would like to work with you on that one. Okay, I think, so how do you see serving this position? And you mentioned some projects. So the goals, what are some of the priorities you see at, during this time?
Well, I'd like to first, as a priority, find out what my staff does. I generally know what they're doing or what they're supposed to be doing. I would like to know what they do, and then go from there. I've been meeting with them on a one-to-one just to find out what they do. Director Shimizu had this, when I went to one of the conferences with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, I met with some of the Hawaii examiners and asking them for their contact information so we could train our examiners on that local government level, and just to have a contact, a relationship with a government, a local government that is similar to us. We're an island, they're an island. We have the same climate, those sort of things. I think it's good to have that kind of relationship. Just pick up the phone and call them. We're probably closer in time zones as well. We had a kickoff conference over the weekend, and I had to get up at 3 a.m. because they started at 1 o'clock, Eastern time. So, the time difference, I mean, I don't know, I'm old. It throws me off when I don't get enough sleep. So it's those kind of things, but it would be nice to establish that kind of a relationship and hopefully train some of our, more senior employees on that local government level is what I'd like to do.
Thank you. So I guess the question is, do you have any potential conflicts of interest serving as the Banking and Insurance Commissioner, and how would you handle those conflicts?
I don't believe I have any conflicts of interest. I don't believe, not even being married to Francis. He's no longer with Staywell, so he works at the hospital. But I don't believe I have those conflicts.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Michelle. Those are my questions. So I would like to open the floor to my colleagues. Senator Tony Ada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mickey.
Good morning.
Thank you for answering Governor Leon Guerrero's call to step up again. I've known Mickey for many, many years. Our children grew up together. She's like a second mom to my son, and Joseph's like a second son to me. So, we go way back. And I know that when she has the energy to keep up with the boys, I know she'll have the energy to keep up with the insurance and banking industry. Madam Chair, I have no questions of her. I just like her to know that she has my full support and confidence, and that I look forward to voting on her confirmation. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you, Senator Tony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Ada. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to Art and Daphne. Thank you for being here to provide some insight and more information about Mickey. I've never had the opportunity, like most of you, to deal with Mickey directly, but I definitely had the pleasure of, and I was very happy to hear the comments during our oversight hearings or during the any public hearing, and most especially during Committee of the Whole. You're very honest, Mickey. You brought your opinions to it. I'm so sad that you left as deputy of Rev and Tax. When I heard that you moved on to something, when we started getting, this connection and your comments that you're making was spot on how to move Rev and Tax forward, especially when it came to the tobacco tax. That I really appreciated your opinion in that, and I know all your hard work that you put into that. And moving forward, I want to thank you first and foremost for the work you did on that. And I'm hoping really that it doesn't go to waste, that we can still move forward with that type of initiative, because if there's any money to be made from this or capture revenue that has not been captured, Department of Revenue and Taxation needs that money. It really does. We want to do everything we can possible to give the funding that it justly deserves and needs. So I know that you're getting your feet wet, but I'm pretty sure you know a lot in your department right now with all your experience too. And I appreciate that you go one-to-one with your employees. That's very important. As far as an attorney, that's concerning, especially in your department and area. Are you allowed to utilize the same attorney as Department of Revenue and Tax uses going through the Attorney General? Is there a particular Attorney General attorney that's been, assigned to you? No,
not since I've been on board. It just depends on what the issue is. I know the supervisor worked on some law changes, and she worked with Serge Kenga, and then Serge left the AG's office. He's now with the judicial system. He's with he's over there with Phil Carbolito, Justice Phil, and at the courts. So we lost him. There is a husband and wife team that works at the AG's office, and we've used them for a licensee case in real estate. And she was very good. But, it just depends on the case. The attorney will change. But, it's up to the AG to give us that help or not. And if they're busy, depending on the issue, and it's urgency, they'll give us the attorney, or they'll give us the help. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right, Mickey? I mean, you have to reschool them and go down history all over again to that new attorney, which is a lot of time that's spent to just to regroup. And what you want is an attorney that's dedicated to your office and knows history and can bring it up, because that's very critical when moving forward on any kind of case, and being able to be what's the word, successful, and so what is your current budget in FY 2021 for your office?
For I believe for salaries, it's close to 600,000. And we do have a small amount for contractual, it's 70,000. So overall for just insurance, securities, and banking, it's close to 700,000. And we bring in just in terms of fees and licenses, about 1.15 million.
Yeah. Well, wow. Okay. And so it's obvious that some of those fees and licensing doesn't all go to your department. It goes somewhere else. Yeah. No. Is there?
Well, yeah. It goes to the general coffers, and then budget, doles it out. And my budget is under the Department of Revenue and Taxation.
But these fees and licensures are directly affiliated with your department, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, there's an opportunity to redirect funding where it's collected and where it's overseen. I always say it should go to the department that does all the work. We do have an enforcement fund strictly for insurance, securities, and banking. I believe it's in the law that created this position, which is public law. I don't know if it's 2788. The enforcement fund, I think, gives us a portion of the funds we collect, and it's supposed to be for the purpose of enforcement. And the Banking and Insurance Board is the one that is supposed to approve the expenditures. Okay. Well, thank you for that information. Greatly appreciate it. And good luck to you. You have my support. I've seen you in action. You're amazing. And one thing I really, truly appreciate is your honesty. And you would not, your integrity, and you would not jeopardize that in any way. And that's what makes Mickey Mickey.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Tadegui. Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and certainly thank you to Director Shimizu, our second day in coming back with us, and our good friend Arda Logan, who certainly has a long history with Department of Revenue and Tax, and also to Mrs. Santos, who I've also known for many, many years and had the opportunity to work with her husband, Francis, in the Guam legislature. I did want to ask you, in terms of your position, what are the biggest challenges you're seeing in your respective position now as you're being appointed to serve as a banking and insurance commissioner? What do you see as the major challenges for you in this division with your new assignment?
As I said, I think one of the biggest challenges is not having all the resources. Limited with staff and funding is what I see as a big problem. And the other problem is with the banking industry, I think we're going to have issues with cannabis. You know, how the banks figure out how they're going to, or how the businesses are going to figure out how they're going to handle the cash. What are they going to do with that cash if they can't deposit it somewhere? Because the banks are regulated by the federal government, and the federal government won't allow, you know, them to touch marijuana money, so to speak. So I think that's going to be a big issue. I think we you know, are trying to work with the cannabis board. I've asked for input from the our banking board members to see you know, what input they can give, and they're not even sure, you know, how to handle some of these issues with the cannabis, and we're waiting for the regulations that the cannabis board will put out. So, you know, we're waiting for that, and then I guess they'll decide, you know, how each bank will handle, you know, their own situations. But what we're seeing is some of the states like Hawaii had an article out recently where they're using a credit union out of Colorado to handle the banking transactions. They're getting creative. I know California has gotten creative with some of what they're doing, but that's the way they're handling it. So, and it you know, it'd be interesting to see what Guam does. Yeah.
Well, I just following up on the question asked by Senator Tello. I mean, you know, as we go along, we're finding in government that there are certain critical areas that we're weak in. And as you mentioned, you know, I understand you're getting assistance from the Attorney General's office, but if funding could be provided, could you, as has been done by other agencies, they've worked out agreements with the Attorney General to have an attorney assigned specifically to that department. Of course, the department funds that salary, so that you have, you know, full advantage of an attorney readily available. Because I mean, for the work that you do and the questions that do come up in the course of that, or things you might need to respond to or pursue, having counsel available is almost necessary. I don't think it's a, you know, nice to have, but necessary. And to find a key agency in the government does not have that readily available is a concern. And so I do appreciate you bringing that up, because otherwise, we're just existing in the government. And I don't think that's enough. I think we need to do a little more than exist, especially because you have such a critical role to oversee and ensure that, you know, things are happening properly in our community. Most average people don't understand all the complicated regulations that come with the insurance and the banking, you know, the banking industry. And they're dependent upon the government to ensure that all these key parties in our community are also complying with the law. If there are issues, concerns that Rev and Tax needs to raise, you also need to make sure you have the law on your side and that you're properly advised when you're pursuing something, right, or getting information. So I do appreciate you bringing that to light. I mean, I know financially we're going through challenging times, but if certainly certain key components are not in the government where they need to be, then as a structure, we're weaker. And so I think we'll take note of that. I know it was yesterday when, you know, Director Shimizu brought up about the fact that out of the funds, out of the fees that are paid to Rev and Tax, it's going to take about $250,000 out of your budget and your operations. I think we're certainly mindful of that. I know Senator Adams and Senator Teller are mindful of that, that if we look at other funding sources, while we may have to cut in other parts of the government, what can we do to preserve that if that bill does indeed pass, to remove those fees temporarily? And then what can we do to at least provide that support so that you do have the funding to have counsel available? Because certainly Rev and Tax doesn't have consistent legal advice. That's something to be, you know, to have concern with. So I do appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, you have your credentials and your years of experience to invest in your position. So I don't have any concerns about that. I'm sure you'll do very well. But I think if we don't address these key components within the government, we're ineffective. And we're just existing. And I don't think that's enough. I don't think it's enough just to go to work every day and exist and say, oh, that's the way it's always been, and there's nothing we can do to improve it, or we don't have the resource to do it. And then these things slip by, and our community's less because of it. So I certainly appreciate your comments and response this morning, and certainly good luck to you in your new capacity and the work that you're doing for our people.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Brown.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Brown. And yes, thank you, Mickey, for accepting the nomination. And Senator Teitig said, you know, we saw that you were able to stand strong in regards to tobacco taxes. And that's stuff we're still pursuing, by the way. So We hope to work with the new deputy director on this to continue this issue or continue the resolution of it. But yes, so again, thank you for accepting the nomination, and we do anything that we can help to support you in your new role. After we announce the confirmation,
Okay.
we're here to support. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Sabina. Thank you very much.
So that concludes the executive hearing, executive appointment hearing for Ms. Santos as Banking and Insurance Commissioner of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. So have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Mickey.
Bye. Thank you very much, Senators. Thank you very much. Bye. Have a great day.
So now to the third item on our agenda is to hear testimony on Bill 52-36 COR, sponsored by myself, Senator Sabina Flores Perez. It's an act to amend Section 5233 of Subarticle D, Article 3, Chapter 5 of Title 5 Guam Code, annotated relative to disclosure of ownership, financial, and conflict of interests. Again, I would like to recognize my colleagues, Senator Tony Ada, Senator Tello Taitigui, Senator Joanne Brown, for being here. Thank you, Sitos Masi. So just a little bit of an introduction. Bill 52-36 will expand procurement law to include complete disclosure of ownership, financial interest, and conflict of interest. This procurement reform allows the government of Guam to know who it is doing business with. These changes are to highlight the information required to be disclosed, which concerns the true identity, reliability, and integrity of the bidder or offerer, making it a matter of responsibility, not responsiveness. The procurement law presently limits the transparency and accountability of participants interested in providing services to the government of Guam. The disclosure could reasonably be expected to ensure effective oversight of the expenditure of public funds. Local procurement laws safeguard public funds through transparency and accountability. Bill 52 is another measure to increase transparency. The proposed measure intends to reduce the risk of fraud and avoiding of debarment. It will go beyond the award and follow through the life of the contract. Bill 52 improves an already practice of disclosure in procurement law. So currently there has been a fiscal waiver, note waiver, and we do have we do have people here to testify regarding Bill 52, and we do have Attorney Brown here. Thank you so much, Attorney Brown, for being here today. If you can turn on your video and unmute yourself.
Says the host has stopped my video.
Okay, so we'll work on that.
Okay. I can see it on. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and other senators. This is it's not a hot button topic for a lot of people, but for me it has been for several years, and we'll get into that later.
Okay. Did you want to provide any, if you want to continue with that testimony?
Right. Well, I have provided written testimony that's pretty weedy, and I would like to avoid that, but you might want to refer to that for some of the context. The reason that 5233 needs to be amended is that times have changed, and it was always a little bit confusing in the first place. The confusing part of it was, well, I wasn't particularly confused about it, but there was a decision of the public auditor a few years back that was just really atrocious on that part of it, because the statute starts out that as a condition of bidding, any partnership, sole proprietorship, or corporation doing business with the government shall submit an affidavit that then describes the 10% owners. In that case, it involved GTA and a competitor for some phone services. GTA was in the middle of negotiating a sale to someone else. When they submitted their bid proposal, they identified GTA. But then subsequently, before the awards were made, the owner was different. But that had been disclosed beforehand that this was in the works. Well, the hearing officer who wrote the opinion, I believe, took a very out of context view of as a condition of bidding, you have to provide this disclosure. And he said, well, that means that you have to provide it when you provide that disclosure right up front when you submit your proposal, your bid, and that's it. If that's wrong when it comes time for the contract, you're non-responsive because you didn't name the ultimate owner at the time you submitted the bid, and even when that was a bit questionable. And I take the view, and have always taken the view, that the disclosure of an owner has absolutely nothing to do with what you're bidding for, what service or supply is being sought. What it asks for is, who am I doing business with? That's always a question of responsibility, not responsiveness. But that became the decision of the public auditor, notwithstanding that the disclosure of ownership and disclosure conflicts, the form that the Attorney General's office puts out says, and if there are any changes in this, in what you've disclosed here, you must disclose this immediately. So that they contemplated that change. So I just want to clarify that so that we don't go down that pigeonhole again, because that became a difficult matter in subsequent cases involving similar situations where there were changes in some of the information. The more interesting problem is, as a condition of bidding, you have to identify the owners of sole proprietorships, partnerships, and corporations. And there are new kids in town. The most obvious one is an LLC. An LLC has become the dominant, or at least substantial, entity of choice for people, because you or I can call ourselves an LLC and we're no longer responsible. We have immunity. Not even a shareholder has direct responsibility for the obligations of the corporation. But in the past, we used to be pretty responsible people and believe that, we need to be responsible for our own ills. That doesn't exist with LLCs. They have the same immunity that shareholders have, even though they're not an entity that is mentioned. So it's necessary to understand that. We want to know if you have a corporation or other matters, LLC, limited partnerships, it's hard to know who is really running the show. That doesn't show up. On the bidder form now, if you are ABC Incorporated, that's all you have to disclose, ABC Incorporated, except for the 10%. If there's an owner of ABC Incorporated that has at least 10% ownership, then you have to disclose that party. But suppose that 10% owner isn't the person. So you disclose it. Okay, well, that's XYZ company is our 10% owner. You still don't know who you're doing business with. You have no way to judge their credibility, their integrity, their responsibility. So the federal government really got into this a decade ago with the way money moves around the world. Money laundering moves around the world, drug pricing, illicit traffic in people and drugs and arms and what have you. And they have been looking to rein in the invisibility of these entities. And in 2014, they passed a provision requiring a much more rigorous disclosure than this bill does. They have a concept that if the bidder is a person, that's fine. We know who that is. We can track that. But if it's anything else, we want to know down through various levels of ownership who's in charge here. And they look for who's in charge. We stick to ownership control, but ownership isn't always control. And the feds are very concerned about who's really controlling what's going on here. So their test is a bit harder to get to the core of. I take the view that Guam doesn't need to get that suspicious at this point, and it is adequate enough that if you have a large enough owner involved, that you can impute some control to that one factor. So it tends to become a little bit of an objective matter. But that's really what's behind this bill. The conflicts of interest and other stuff is pretty obvious.
Great. Thank you for that that lesson and explanation. All right. So we do have, I think Claudia's coming back online. We had Claudia here earlier. I know she's probably busy at the moment, but we did receive testimony, and I think the concern was about ensuring that they disclose their ownership interests at the time of bidding. So I think perhaps maybe it's the verbiage of at bid opening versus prior to a contract. I think that was maybe one of the concerns that they had.
And that's the difference between responsiveness and responsibility, because the law says that if you're dealing with a responsibility, the law says before award, you make that determination. It doesn't say at bid opening. People look for reasons to just throw out a bid, and it's pretty routine that if you don't disclose an ownership, they want to throw you out of the bidding. But if you are the prospective contractor, you can go through that process at that point. Before you give the award, you can eliminate that party and just go to the next one down the list. So it's, to my way of thinking, that you're asking too much to have that disclosed at bid opening, particularly when, like in GTA, they were in the middle of a change of ownership. Everybody knew that, but they didn't disclose the new owner at the time the bids were submitted because the deal hadn't been done yet. That's a common occurrence in business law, in business practice, changes of ownership like that. So as long as you know who it is before you award to them, and that's the general rule about responsibility. Responsibility is not determined at bid opening. The law tells us that. The regulations make that clear. It's so I don't think it's appropriate or productive to make that note that information necessarily disclosed at bid opening.
So the other thing is the bill does have some teeth, right? So if there's failure to disclose, it would be considered as a breach of contract.
Yeah, this is because this is another thing. The bill does say that this disclosure requirement is continuous. It's a continuous disclosure requirement. So once you've been awarded the contract, we know who you were when we gave you the contract. If there's a change of ownership afterward, you have to tell us who we're dealing with now. And if we don't, then you've breached the contract. Now, a material breach typically requires, just by contract law, notice and opportunity to cure. So it's not life or death. Our mistake, our bad, but here it is. This is what it is. And if that's all fine and dandy, then it's a cured breach. But that's the point of that. it's not a breach of contract before you get the award because you don't have a contract at that point.
Okay. All right. So I think I would like to open up the floor to my colleagues for questions. Senator Ada?
I don't have any questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ada. Senator Teidigan?
Sejus Masi, Madam Chair. And I had the opportunity to read the bill, the original law, which was much shorter. And now we've increased it to be very thorough, on its explanation. I saw the OPA, our elected official, BJ Cruz here, former Senator BJ Cruz, and then he's not here any longer. I was hoping to see any kind of testimony that he brought in. Is he coming back later on with Claudia, or did he submit some written testimony?
So he actually was here for the nominee, Michelle.
For Michelle? Oh, okay. It would have been nice if he stuck around for the for this bill too as well and provide his input, since Attorney Brown mentioned him several times in this process. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank Attorney Brown for always being, taking the time, your personal time out to be here and help move good legislation forward with regards to procurement. And I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Please don't retire anytime soon, okay? Because we need you. Because I hear a little...
Kind of getting old and long in tooth.
No, you're just getting wiser, like a fine wine, You're getting even better. So don't even go anywhere. I do have a question, though, and I did send it to the good chair with regards to the tier of the three tier. In the original, the current law right now says 10% ownership. And I was wondering, why would we go? Is this something reflective of the federal government's procurement law that they go to, I believe it was 25, let me pull it up, 25, then 45%. Can you explain why not just maintain across the board 10% ownership instead of that?
That's primarily the way because of the tax planning and liability planning that lawyers do for these corporations. As you get further down, you tend to find that there are fewer owners, and then for control of the top tier. And this is what we're talking about. Who controls the top tier? Well, an entity that's 2 or 3 steps down typically doesn't exercise much, if any, control over the top tier. And so that's why we've moved it up, just to try to avoid all the paperwork that's involved in making these identifications. And if you want to make that 10% across the board, that's fine, but we may run into problems where you're getting no control from anybody, even though everybody, you got 10 owners of the tier down, 10 owners, and each one of them has a 10%. Well, no one of them controls it. And it's control that's the more important factor, and that's what the feds are really focused on, is control.
Is this something reflective of the federal government's procurement? I mean, because you tried to mirror it after them in 2014 when it was changed.
Okay, no, I only found out about the 2014 when I began. So in this last NDAA, the 2021 NDAA, there was a provision that modified that rule a little bit, just made it a little bit tighter, actually. But I just don't think that we're in a position of expertise, of experience to handle at administrative level a determination of control, because that's a facts and circumstance determination that it's very fact specific, and it can be different in every case. No 2 cases are the same. And I just don't, it's so much easier just to say, show me who owns the shares, show me the share book, or whatever I have to do to prove it, boom, boom. Because typically in a small business atmosphere, the percentage ownership follows control.
I'd say, yeah, that's true. I believe being very thorough, and that's why it needed a page and a half versus one paragraph in the current law, to be adequate to address any potential conflict of interest. So this surely will do that, I think, very transparent. And we've been screaming about transparency, for the longest time. And I think we should act upon it, not just say it, but do something about it. And I think this bill would actually do that. Does GSA provide any orientation see, GSA is not here. I wanted to ask them if they provided any orientation to prospective contractors or disclosure responsibility. I mean, if this bill should come through, it's important to provide that information to any of these contractors, because they might come back later on and said it was never disclosed or what, but I guess they would give a copy of if this bill becomes law, a copy of the law, and then, but a lot of times we want to do our due diligence and cover all angles. That not only did we give them a copy of the law, but we also informed them verbally, or they signed a document understanding the new change, because I just don't want to see potential, again, what's the word, protests that delay any projects moving forward. So I thank you again, Mr. Brown, for all your insight, and look forward to, asking any more questions later on that may pop up. This is very different, and I appreciate all the hard work that the good chairwoman has been doing. And I think she's the only one I know who's really gone to take a class in procurement, taking her responsibility she's taking it very seriously by attending the classes. So my hats off. Yeah.
Senator Ada took every module, and I believe Senator Perez has done that as well. Yeah, it is important for them to know. It's important for, I think, all the senators ought to be taking the classes and learn a little bit about it. It's just helpful to put everybody on the same page, because it's not intuitive stuff. We're used to how private business conducts itself, and that is just not government business.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Tadigui. So we do have Claudia is here, and she had some technical difficulties. I'm wondering, Claudia, if you can turn on your video.
And Madam Chair, may I have the opportunity? I have some questions for GSA, if I may.
Yes, I'd like to provide her the opportunity.
Okay.
Claudia, thank you for joining us. You're still muted, and your video is off. If you can turn on both. There may be some technical difficulties.
Okay.
Maybe a quick recess. We'll try to figure this out. So maybe a 3-minute recess at this point. I appreciate your patience. Committee's back from recess, and we'd like to recognize Chief Procurement Officer Claudia Fazzi. Thank you for your patience and your time. So it looks like her video is not working, but we want to welcome you to provide testimony. So thank you for being here, Claudia.
We submitted our testimony, our written testimony regarding Bill 52-36. And our only concern is I guess the bill was indicated that the change was that the affidavit of disclosure, instead of submitting it with the bid package, would be submitted prior to award. And our concern is you know, when we're analyzing the bids, we take a look to make sure that there's no collusion with two companies of the, you know, like sister companies submitting the same bid. And that's why we see the importance of submitting the affidavit with their bid packages.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that our testimony was focused on that, okay. Based on analyzing the bids. You know, if we're going to wait until prior to an award, again, it's going to go delaying the process, because now we're going to have to go back saying, hey, these two companies submitted bids for the same project, for example.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's that makes sense. It, you know, can all be provided during the bid submission of the bid. Mm-hmm. But I think we, you know, that's workable. It's just a matter of. But yeah, perhaps I'll get. Yeah, I don't see any issues with that, but we'll hear testimony from others. All right. So thank you, Claudia. And Attorney Brown, do you have any comment to that?
Yeah, remember I told you in my original testimony that, and as the bill does state, this inquiry into who you are is a question of responsibility. If you're a person who's colluding, that reflects poorly on your integrity. Integrity is an issue of responsibility. It's one of the factors, one of the more important factors in responsibility. So that's a question of responsibility. Issues of responsibility are not determined at bid opening. They are, before you award the contract to somebody, you do an inquiry, or you're entitled to do an inquiry into responsibility and find out, are you colluding? You know, who are you? Do you have a good performance record? And all those other things that go into making the judgment of responsibility. So I would disagree with the CPO on that. Yes, it might be handy to know as you're reviewing them, but you know, when you're particularly in bids, you know, it's just a matter, is their bid responsive? And even with a RFP, is the bid responsive? It's an important question. But nonetheless, after you've made all those decisions, you come up with a prospective awardee, prospective bidder in the language of the regulation. That means you're the likely candidate to get this contract. But before we give it to you, we want to make darn certain that you're a responsible bidder. And if you're not, then we'll go to the next person. And it's always been that way. It's that way in the federal level. It's that way in the model procurement code. And I just think that it gives too many. Responsiveness is a very objective determination. You're either going to give us what we're asking for or you're not. If you don't give us what we're asking for, and you have your own checklist of what we've been asking for, tick, 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 tick. If they don't meet that, then they're non-responsive. But the other one is recognized responsibility as is very subjective, because it's a weighing of a lot of different factors. Performance versus new guy on the block, integrity, having facilities versus not having facilities, but having the ability to obtain facilities. There's an awful lot that goes into making that determination. And because of that, the government is given a lot of deference in deciding whether a bidder is responsible or not. So they have that leeway, as it were. You don't want to move that up front, because it's also a good way to hide behind favoritism. This guy is not responsible. This guy is responsible. Well, that affects an awful lot of things. So you don't want to do that when you're determining the prospective bidder. You want to do it after you've determined a prospective bidder, and then you look into that. It just holds off the fuzzy criteria to a later date.
Thank you for that response, Attorney Brown. Okay. So yeah, basically, if I'm hearing correctly, you want to be able to resolve responsiveness, lack of responsiveness first, and then look at the responsible.
Well, it really has nothing to do with what I would like it to be. That's what it is. Responsiveness under the law is determined at bid opening. Responsibility under the law is determined before award. After it does not at bid opening.
All right, thank you. Right, Senator Taitigui, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I like the word that you used, Attorney Brown, fuzzy.
I saw you smirking.
Yeah, I like that one, fuzzy. Claudia, thank you so much for being here, and I wish you well, and the family as well. You've been so helpful, when I call on you to answer any of my questions. But, this in particular, I just have a couple questions, if that's okay. Is there an administrative policy mechanism currently in place at GSA and other agencies that are authorized to procure goods and service independent of GSA that helps to detect potential conflicts of interest?
Administrative policy, actually we were bounded by regulations and statutes, Senator. So we actually rely on that affidavit of disclosure and basically dealing with these different companies, on a day-to-day. We are able to identify companies that are sister companies with each other or that deals with each other. And when those kind of issues come up, we do advise them, that you cannot both submit a bid at the same time, that you should work together and submit your bids, because we do frequently get questions like that, especially if the companies are new. They ask questions, although we are, like, for example, I'll give an example, like Golden Marketing and National Office Supplies, they're sister companies, and they ask questions, can we both submit our own bids? And because, they're owned by the same people, we say you should work together and submit a bid, submitting one bid. Yes.
Okay, so that probably answers my other question. Does GSA provide an orientation to prospective contractors on disclosure responsibilities?
If they inquire with our office.
But it's not something that you do automatically at the very beginning, correct?
No.
Okay.
So, I was also thinking we can maybe, and there'll be a fee on top of it if it's approved by our director. I was thinking of also holding some kind of conference or training, for the bidders, for prospective bidders or offerers in that manner if they would like to participate on this government procurement. Or I'm sure that some of them attends Attorney Brown's sessions, because I don't think it's only for government, right, Mr. Brown?
That's correct. In the olden days, we had quite a number, about 30% of them were from the private sector. But since the legislation came in requiring government employees to get it, the private sector has been crowded out.
Yeah. Even government.
Well, that's a good idea, Claudia. I hope you pursue that, because I think it'd be very helpful. The whole point is that all these protests that come in just to stop the projects moving forward, you want to avoid that before it happens. Time is money, and these companies, put a lot of sacrifice and efforts toward any kind of bid. So it's important to do that. So that's all I have. I thank you so much, Claudia, for your Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you, Senator Taitigui. Senator Brown?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and certainly thank you to Attorney Brown and Mrs. Afaji for being here this morning. I did want to ask Attorney Brown just to clarify, because I'm not as familiar with the term artificial person. Can you elaborate? What is an artificial person? I mean, do they structure their company where they don't specifically identify as, we know, individuals that, you know, actually are there as real human beings? So if you could clarify, that's a new terminology for me.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of different statutes that define what a person is, because most of the laws apply to a person.
Right.
And long ago, way before Citizens United, corporations took on a life of their own. They were accepted by the law, the courts, as a person, even though they're not a natural person. And so you would talk about a natural person versus an artificial person, an unnatural person, which sounds kind of ghostly to who wants to go there.
Sure.
So that's just terminology from the past. And I am from the past.
Well, last week I learned the terminology stigmatized property, so it's adding to my vocabulary. Yes. You know, I don't have any questions. I certainly appreciate the sponsorship of our good chairwoman with regards to this bill. And certainly I think it's very much in line with our desire to want to see more transparency and accountability with regards to government procurement. You know, certainly at the end of the day, it's all public money that's being used, and we want to make sure that people are up front and we know who we're dealing with, and that they don't have conflicts with regards to bids that they're providing for, you know, goods or services to the government of Guam. So I certainly appreciate the efforts of our chairwoman in introducing, and I'm sure Senator Tello and I, if you consider us being co-sponsors, anything that improves that accountability in the government, we're very, very supportive of. And thank you very much, Attorney Brown and Ms. Afaji, for joining us at the hearing this morning and providing your responses. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Can I just respond to something you triggered a thought? This is a continuous disclosure requirement. And over time, we only have a handful of people who are constantly bidding on government contracts. Over time, you'll know who everybody is. You won't need a full disclosure up front because you will have done business with them in the past. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's an obligation to collect statistics about this sort of stuff. At the federal level, on the notion of finding contractors who've been disbarred or lost contracts from one or another issue, even if they're not disbarred, the federal government has a website that you can go to and check on who's been naughty and who's been nice. And I'm not sure about who has access to that, because they get a lot more detail than this bill would provide. But the notion that the government needs to share this information about who's been naughty and who's been nice, or at least who's been naughty, if those statistics exist, they should be shared and shareable, particularly to the other government agencies.
But you know, that does bring up a good question. I'm not aware that such a list exists. I mean, we've had circumstances where a contractor may be performing a service for one government department and doesn't do so satisfactorily, and there are issues. And then, you know, that company goes back and rebids on another government project, especially, you know, if they've served a substandard service on their previous contract, another department or agency may not be aware of it, and then they're back to getting, you know, being able to get another government contract. And there are some companies, unfortunately, as you know in your experience, that just for whatever reason are not responsible, or, you know, they try to go down a crooked road. That's just their nature for some reason, unbeknownst to understand how that's possible. But if there's a shortcut to take, they're going to take it. I mean, you know, we've heard in the past where, you know, DOE schools had procured and waterworks had procured generators, and then, you know, they weren't properly installed. They weren't functional. The warranty wasn't followed through with. And things like that happen. And in some cases, you're right. Some companies, because of lack of proper service or delivery on a contract, should probably be recognized or barred for a certain period of time of coming back and rebidding on a government contract, because, we want to create incentives for good companies to participate, but also disincentives for not so good companies to participate in the government. So is that something you recommend we should look at and institute in the government of Guam? And maybe for you, Attorney Brown, or afterwards, if Mrs. Afaji can respond, because she's certainly very experienced with the government procurement aspect. Is that something we should do? Because I'm not aware of such a list in the local government of Guam.
It's been bandied about for a long time. So many times that I'm really a bit confused without having to go back and look into it as to whether it exists or not. I do know that the federal government hasn't really got its arms wrapped around the problem except in the last 2-3 years, and they're still trying to work out the kinks in the system. So it is a problem that everybody recognizes. Bad actors don't particularly want to see that implemented, but it should be. I do know that there is a provision, there is an article in the procurement law that deals, or a sub-article that deals with collecting statistics. And I would have to go get into that and see if there is a hat hook to hang a hat on, or whether we have to create one. It wouldn't be hard to create, but it ought to come from government who's much more aware of how they communicate to the extent that they do than I would be. I wouldn't want to impose something that's not workable.
Okay. Does Mrs. Afaji have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts on that, and I follow you regarding different. Bidders bidding on different for different agencies with different agencies, and I always emphasize to the departments, especially when I conduct the DOA procurement training, is when they're encountering situations where contractors fail to provide the services adequately, or any deliverables that are late, very, very late, and or they receive goods that are not to standards, based on what the specifications indicate. If they don't inform GSA of those situations, then it's very hard for us, GSA, to actually work out this vendor performance. And as I shared with our oversight chair, where if GSA can recruit a contracts administrator, then that contracts administrator, the function should go out to actually monitor these various contracts that we are awarding to the various departments and agencies, because again, infractions don't only happen with GSA. It can also take place between the vendor and the department. They can be working out these deals. Okay, we'll just say you delivered it, but we really didn't receive it. And we don't know, because GSA is not involved in the deliverables or when services are being provided. At least just to do spot checks, to pop up and say, okay, where are you on the service contract? Or provide us data. Can we see your data of the different services that they've been providing? Is it timely? Just the checks and balances. And that's what's missing. That's what I believe is missing, even in terms of because again, we don't handle fixed assets. Okay, so we don't, they may say they did receive this generator, but where is the generator? Was it really received by the department? We don't know. But if there's a contracts administrator in place, then we can actually, do some scheduling, and their function is to go out there and police these contracts that we actually put out. So
okay, no, I appreciate, yeah, go ahead, dear.
Yes.
Is there anything more you want to add?
That was it.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Brown, and thank you to Claudia. And we do have Attorney Kono here today as well. So just want to recognize you as well, and also if you had any additional comments or feedback at this time. So you're muted if you were trying to speak, and your video is off too, so I can't tell if you're speaking. So I believe he was here to provide any responses. So again, oh, sorry, there he is. Good morning. No, he didn't turn off his mute. Okay. So I do want to thank everybody who's come here today, my colleagues, Senator Tadegui, Senator Brown. I want to thank Attorney Brown for volunteering his time and providing much needed expertise and advice. And I want to also thank Chief Procurement Officer Claudia Agfaji and Attorney Kona for being here. And thank you. I know how busy you guys are. And yes, I'm glad that you brought up the contracts administrator. And yeah, I do intend to meet with Director Byrne and to talk about staffing issues and other sort of resources that are needed by GSA. But again, regarding this bill, yes, I think it's important that we provide really proactive measures when it comes to ensuring that our public funds are spent properly and used effectively, and increasing transparency in our system from highlighting disclosure, expanding disclosure to include financial interest of different tiers, as well as any kind of conflicts of interest within our government and related to the businesses that are getting these bids or contracts. And I think, yeah, this is, I think, one important measure that we can make to ensure transparency and accountability within the procurement system. And I appreciate everybody's time here today. So further testimony will be received 5 days after today. February 17th, 4 p.m., 2021. Please address testimony to myself, Senator Sabina Flores, Perez, Chairperson of the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor, Procurement, Statistics, Research, and Planning. If you dropped off the mailbox at the Guam Congress Building, or emailed to my office@senatorperez.org. No further testimonies, questions, or comments. The committee now is adjourned. The time is 9:59 a.m. Still Masi, and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Brown. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you, Attorney Brown, and everyone.
Thank you.